Welcome to another week in my kitchen. This episode contains my desperate attempt at sushi, another one of our hodgepodge dinners, and a delicious breakfast tiramisu. We're starting with sushi and we're making kappamaki and sushi with salmon. I've been curing the salmon in the freezer for a couple of weeks, so hopefully it's all okay now. Eating raw fish will probably never stop making me a little nervous. To the sushi rice I'm adding condiment specifically for sushi, but just a tiny little bit because it tastes a little bit too vinegary if you overdo it. Now I have these nori sheets at home, which are delicious, way better than any other. But I don't use them often and I always forget that they are half the size. As someone who prepared sushi probably about 5 times in their entire life, already wrapping the regular size nori sheets is a challenge for me. These, mission impossible. We have a Japanese neighbor who once brought me some delicious sushi and she recommended these nori sheets. While her sushi was pretty much like her, perfect, cute and tiny. As you can see, mine is, well, definitely not very cute at this point. And so, my disaster management skills kick right in. I decide to cut an extra strip of nori and glue everything together with water. Surprisingly, it works. Not knowing what else to do at this point, I proceed to making another roll this way. Also, silently regretting having decided to make sushi once again. We love eating it, but ordering sushi can get very expensive. That's probably why, after a couple of months, I always forget just how difficult it is to make sushi and try again. After I successfully glued the second roll together, I had a better idea. Why not glue 2 nori sheets together to make a bigger one? Once again, if anyone who can actually make sushi is watching, apologies. I'm trying, okay? If you want to see someone skillfully wrapping a perfect sushi roll, I'm pretty sure there is plenty of channels on YouTube who can show you that. In here, we are constantly experimenting, making mistakes, messing up, and being totally honest about it. The more mistakes you allow yourself to make, the more space for learning you will create, right? Because my double nori sheet method seemed to be working, I continued making all the kappamaki that way. I'm not sure how many people out of 10 would agree with me, but I really had the feeling the more rolls I made, the better I was getting at it. Slowly I understood where to place the rice and how much for the best result. Maybe I shouldn't leave it another couple of months before I attempt making sushi again, because by then I will have forgotten everything once again. Once I had all the rolls ready, I cut them up and rejoiced in the fact that they still held together. There is 3 piles on the chopping board. The fat pieces for my son, the ugly ends for myself, and the thin ones for my husband. What's more representative of a mom's life than catering for everyone's needs and eating the ugly scraps? I'm not entirely sure how this is possible, but my youngest son doesn't really like sushi. That's why I quickly also prepared some pot stickers and also served some of those to my older son along with his sushi. And a side of cucumbers. We really need a sponsor for cucumbers, you guys. And for the sushi hater, we have rice and pot stickers. And what else on the side than cucumber? With a bang arrives the ugliest assortment of sushi for myself. Just for reference, this is husband's. Ugly or not, it was just as delicious as ever. Maybe even worth all the effort. Maybe. Guess what's always worth the effort for me? These. My most favorite way to cook in the whole world is simply pulling out all the veggies I find in the fridge and doing with them whatever I feel inspired to in the moment. Today I'm thinking split pea soup, roasted veggies, and maybe some sort of egg on the side. I rescued all the dying celery stalks from the fridge and a piece of fennel. After adding the potatoes, I realized my ambitions had been bigger than my pot. So after a quick pot swap, I added more potatoes and carrots. Water, stock cube, the pre-soaked split peas, and bay leaves. After a while, I go back in the pot and take out a part of the potatoes. A couple will stay in the soup, but these I will be using to make roast potatoes. Do you know what's best seasoning for soup? Love and lovage. And in this jar there is probably both, because one of my best friends handpicked this herb in my homeland just for me. Back to the potatoes I fished out from the soup. I cut them in circles, drizzle with olive oil, sprinkle with salt and breadcrumbs, and then they go in the oven together with these guys. Dabbed with a little bit of olive oil, salt and black pepper. Easy peasy and tasty, just how I like it. Same goes for tonight's choice of protein. I mix sourdough discard with eggs. I'm usually not a big fan of omelets, but this one is more similar to a savory pancake and seasoned with mustard, one of my favorite ways to eat eggs. If I prepare it for myself, I usually add some dill and a bit of parmesan, which I can tolerate in small quantities. However, this time I'm preparing it for the boys, so I'm just gonna completely cover it in cheese, because that's the way they like it. When I go to flip it, I realize my favorite spatula is broken, but of course, this is not gonna stop me. While I was preparing the egg, the soup was finishing to cook, and in the last moment I tossed in some zucchini. Once these were cooked through, I switched it off and took out all the celery stalks and the bay leaves. I always get a bit nervous about the bay leaves. Once I forgot them in the soup, blended them together with it, and then spent a couple of days wondering if this could kill us. Best to take it out, I guess. While blending the soup, I realize I don't want to eat it tonight. I will have it tomorrow. I'm not kidding when I say I'm probably the fussiest around here. I go and quickly mix vegan feta with olive oil, black pepper and dill. I can smell the delicious roasted veggies and I want to eat those with this. The soup can wait. Assembly time. My oldest son's plate, omelette, lettuce, roasted veggies, potatoes and leftover cheese sticks. Younger son, omelette, potato, cheese sticks, lettuce. Myself, completely random salad with leftover veggies, roasted veggies, feta cheese and turkey ham on the side. And this explains why I'm not upset at my kids when they don't want to eat something. I understand them. I cook the soup, I'm eating the salad. But I did keep my promise and ate the soup the next day for lunch. And I thoroughly enjoyed it because I was in the mood for it. There's one last thing I want to show you. It looks like a tiramisu, but you can totally eat it for breakfast. To make it kid-friendly, I'm using decaf coffee. We'll be soaking biscuits in it, so you need to make sure the coffee cools down before you use it, otherwise they fall apart. And you'll be risking to burn your fingers too. You can use literally any biscuits that you have lying around at home. Not that this happens very often at our house, but just in case I find some biscuits open for too long and risking to go soggy, this is one of my favorite ways to use them up. This is all super easy. The only thing to remember is the coffee dip needs to be quick. Every biscuit will be slightly different, but we don't want it to disintegrate. For the cream, I'm using Greek yogurt, protein powder, rum-flavored sugar, and a bit of plant milk, instead of mascarpone and heavy cream. You see what I mean? This is perfect for breakfast. Depending on how much sugar you add, and the sweetness of your protein powder, you might want to add an extra bit of sweetener. I used maple syrup. And then you go ahead and do exactly what you would do for a regular tiramisu, layering coffee-dipped biscuits and the cream. Honestly, even if this is supposed to be a breakfast, I love having it for dessert or a quick snack as well. And since I started making this sort of fake tiramisu, I got so used to it that when I try have the normal one, it just seems way too sweet to me. On the other hand, eating something like this for breakfast still feels so special and extravagant to my kids that they simply love it. Who wouldn't want a treat for breakfast, right? When eating it, I promise you they're not thinking about the extra proteins in the Greek yogurt or the ones from the protein powder, or the fact that there is half the sugar compared to a regular tiramisu. All they see is a very special breakfast that actually takes just a couple of minutes to put together. After it's sat in the fridge for a couple of hours, it's so convenient to just have it there, ready for whenever you want. Stays good for at least up to 4 days, not that it ever lived for so many days in our house. Thanks for joining me once again and hoping to see you soon.